Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Kensington Cross Stitch. I'm Deborah and it is so good to be with you for another episode. Today is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, and like I said, I have been looking forward to it. It is so good to be with you for another little bit of time to sit and stitch, talk stitchy content together. I actually have a fair amount of stitchy content to show you, which is shocking given the last couple of videos that I've had, but I hope that you will enjoy seeing the different projects that I have been working on, a couple of other things to show you. I do have a couple very small other crafty projects, no Legos, no books for today, but hopefully something here for everybody to enjoy as we go through the process. Let's see, what has been happening since we were with each other last? The weather is gorgeous outside right now. I mean, how can we not talk about the weather? It's beautiful. It's the time of year when you wake up and it is cool and crisp, but warm enough that you want to sit outside. You get your cup of coffee and you sit out and it's quiet and the birds are chirping and the chipmunks are rustling around, but it's just a peaceful time of day. And so I've been enjoying doing that for a couple of days. Definitely something I'm going to continue taking advantage of while I can. I've been out watering the plants, just making sure that they're healthy. They were doing some road construction on my house, and I have a corner house, so they tore up a bunch of the property, which is technically their property, and now they've reseeded it, and so I'm having to do a lot of watering and all kinds of things like that. But again, it's just a nice chance to get outside, enjoy nature a little bit before it gets to the heat of summer. And so that's been going on. I made a very quick trip to Washington, D.C. last week, just an overnight trip for work. Enjoyed the train, of course, did some reading, but a nice chance to just get away and see D.C. I really enjoy that as a city. Every time I've gotten back as an adult, I'm just like, I just really like Washington, D.C. It's a good city. So maybe sometime I'll actually get there for more than a day or two for work, but in the meantime, I was able to get there, have a meal, see some friends, do that, and then also take care of work. So that was good. This last Saturday was the Connecticut Stitching Circle get-together. We do that once a month, first Saturday of the month at the Wallingford Panera. So if anybody is in or near Connecticut, hasn't joined us yet, we would love to have you. It is just, we've been getting together long enough that it really just feels like a group of friends, a group of people getting together, and you get to see friends catch up with each other and all of that. So I enjoy that every time. Just a little bit of a PSA for those of you who maybe don't come every time or are looking to come this next time. July is one of the meetings that we are having off schedule. So because of the July 4 holiday, we're going to be meeting the second Saturday of the month, which I think is the 13th. Don't quote me on that, but the second Saturday of the month rather than the first Saturday. So that way we avoid the holiday weekend there. Stitch Maine is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I am signed up to do that again. I had to miss it last year, but I did participate the first year. It was really fun. I'm looking forward to it. Chance to see Maine, and I'll actually know people this time, which is exciting. And then get a chance to see some family while I'm out of town as well. And I think that's all. That's enough little sort of chit chat for today. But like I said, I've got a fair amount of stitchy content, a little bit of extra crafty stuff, and then I've got some like extra organizational stuff to chat about at the end, because I've actually been not only productive, but actually organized in my craft room a little bit, and I have to show off some of that. So with that, we will get started. So the first thing that I have to show you is a fully finished object, which I have not fully finished anything in quite some time. I will get to that in the organization section, but I do have an FFO to show you. And here we are. This is a Lizzie Kate piece. I, of course, am not remembering the name of it. I actually stitched this piece probably a decade ago, and it sat in my to finish pile for quite some time. I finished it till 2 years ago, maybe, just in this kind of flat finish, and then actually, I will. Full disclosure, this is a refinish. This isn't just a finish, it's a refinish. And it was the world's easiest refinish, because this is how it used to be finished. And I would switch it out, and it's just the washer and magnet method. Very easy. And I had this in my living room, and I would switch it out seasonally. And I like this. I like this finish. But I had also picked up this star piece at the thrift shop, maybe last summer, And I thought, I love that. I really like it. I'm definitely going to use it for a cross stitch finish at some point. And then I just suddenly was inspired this last week to put this piece on top of it. So I did go with the magnet method so that I could continue if I wanted to swap it out for other pieces in the future. But that was it. That's all I did to finish it because all of this was already done. All I did was glue 2 magnets onto this board and move it. I know. I deserve all of the kudos. I know. But I really enjoy this, and it's seasonal, which means I can put it out and enjoy it this summer. So that will be with all of my summer finishes. And if I want to, I can always switch it back for the other one, but world's easiest finish. Yes. So that was my FFO. I also have a start and a finish, something that you've never seen before. I have a number of whips, and I have a couple of new starts. So there was stitching going on, y'all. All right, so the first one to show you is a start and a finish. And I think that I have shown this on my channel before. I have kitted this up, and I wanted to stitch this at some point. I figured probably this summer is when it would happen. And this is a Birds of a Feather piece called Land That I Love. And I will admit the reason that I got it was this little guy. I don't know if he's a fox or a dog. I am not sure. I am still not sure, but I really liked it. And I like the little fish swimming in the river. So I picked that one up. It was not particularly expensive. I believe this one is still in print, so I didn't have any difficulty picking up this pattern, and it's just a single page on cardstock. But what I did do is I changed the colors, and I didn't complete the whole pattern, and I made some changes. So anyway, ta-da! This is my finish. And I wanted to use more kind of pinks and greens rather than red and blue. So it could be potentially just a little more of a generic summer piece. And so I did pull various different fancy flosses. This one, for example, is a Tom and Lily thread. The blue that I wound up using was a Weeks called Father's Day, and then I also used Weeks called Cypress. So those were the main colors that I used and stitched it up. And what you may notice is my fox / possible dog is leaping very high in the air. He is higher in the air than he is in the pattern. I was almost completely done stitching him when I suddenly realized that I had based him off of the wrong little branch of the tree there, and this dog is very energetic, very enthusiastic, and I was just like, you know what? I'm leaving him. So I just quickly added 2 more little flowers underneath, which hopefully he won't crush when he lands. And I also changed the fish to blue because other than that, I had only used the blue in the house so far, and I wanted to tie that together a little bit. I also left off the Land That I Love language. I was intending to stitch it. I started this piece fully intending to stitch it, but you know how sometimes you just aren't enjoying a stitch? Like, it has nothing to do with the pattern. It has nothing to do with the materials. You're just, for whatever reason, it's just not something that is working for you right then. This was one of those pieces. And so I just got to this point and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to call it quits. I think it's cute. I really like it. I think it's adorable. I am very happy with it as a stitch and as a finish. I didn't stitch quite as much as I planned. I made some unexpected changes, but I'm perfectly happy with it. So sometimes that's how life leads you. But that is Land That I Love by Birds of a Feather. And that was my start and finish. I also have several whips to show you. So this was one that I had shown just a little bit of last time. This is a piece that I have also been wanting to stitch for some time, and this is a Curtis Boehringer piece called Season to Season, the Apple Branch. And what I like about it is whatever direction that you put it, it's right side up for that season, and then it just has different versions of the apple branch as it might look in that particular season. So this is a piece that I decided I'm going to stitch just as the seasons come, so I'm in no rush to do it. It it took longer than you might have thought, but it isn't a huge commitment of time. So I have at this point stitched the summer piece, and I am using I'm using DMC. It calls for DMC flower thread, and I'm just using regular DMC on that. And I have finished my spring section. So there we go. It does show up a little bit more in person than what you're seeing. That spring is a very pale green, for example, but I really love those, just the little apple blossoms. You will notice that there are some empty spaces. That is where there is overlap with the seasons that are surrounding it. But I've gotten my spring piece done, and we'll just continue to work on that. I may work on the summer piece fairly soon and then set it aside for autumn and then winter. But that way, by the time we get through, possibly around the end of the year, I'll have finished the entire thing and we'll be able to get that framed and up on the wall. Well, one thing I am thinking, and this may make some people concerned about my decision making, but because it is going to rotate each time, I think that I am also going to rotate, and you rotate the pattern. Well, you don't have to rotate the pattern, but for my brain, it just makes sense that you rotate it so that you can see sort of right way up with the season that you're looking at. It means that as I rotate, my stitches are going to be going in different directions. That is not something that I normally do, but I think the reason I want to do it is I am intending to rotate this piece as we go through the year, and I think I would like to be able to look at that particular season and see the stitches going in the direction that I would expect. And I think in part also because the seasons overlap on both sides, having the stitches go in different directions will make them stand out and pop against each other just a tiny little bit, possibly. It might also be something that you don't even really notice unless you're a fellow stitcher and you're standing 2 centimeters from the frame. But I think that just in order for it to be kind of an easier stitch and easier to read the pattern, I think that is what I'm going to do as I go along. If that causes you great concern, let me know. It probably won't change my mind, but I don't know. I'm certainly willing to hear, be like, I know I'm going against the grain on this one, but I think it makes sense. So that was the apple branch. The next couple of whips that I have to show you are related to, if you'll remember, my new stationary exercise bike, which is something that I purchased recently on a whim because instead of having handlebars, it has a giant tray on top of it. Clearly, it's supposed to be for somebody who's like on their laptop working. And I was like, who wants to do that? I could be stitching. So I bought it, I set it up, and I've been working on some pieces as I do my little biking. I don't do it every day, not yet, but I've done it probably, 6-8 times at this point. Definitely gotten into a rhythm with it. I picked up my speed. I keep a pretty good pace while I'm doing it, and I have been focusing on doing about 2 lengths of floss, and that takes me about 25 minutes, which I figure is a good exercise. But as I have been doing that, obviously I have been doing a little bit more stitching. So the piece that I showed you last time, which is Hobbit Mealtime, is one that I have been continuing to work on. So I have made a little bit more progress on that. I think the last time I showed it, I was just at the beginning of second breakfast, so I finished that line, 11sies, and I've started in on luncheon. There is a little bit of shadowing in another green, which is why things seem a little bit uneven there, but I'm figuring I'll just finish the main color and then go back and do the fill-in. So this is one that I was working on. I think this was 3 cycle sessions. 2 or 3. Anyway, so I was working on that one, but because when I talked to you last time, I had been working on a hands-on design piece, and one thing that I did figure out fairly quickly was changing colors and basically starting and finishing thread interrupted my cycling. Like, I needed to stop and do a little bit more focus on that, and so I decided that I was going to do monochromatic pieces. So that was why I was working on this piece. Then I kind of figured out that the monochromatic thing is great. It's really good to not have to be changing colors. But trying to I can stitch while I'm shifting around and moving a little bit. Trying to read a pattern, that takes a little bit more effort as you're bumping up and down. So that was taking extra time, and I find that a little bit frustrating. So I was like, all right, well, then I'm just going to be doing fill in. So one color, if possible, fill in, kind of retreat stitching. It's like, it's stuff that you need to do, but you don't really have to be paying attention to it. So I set this one aside. I am going to continue working on it because at this point, there's not that much more to go. I will finish it, and that way I will have that piece done, which will be a whip that is off my list. But since I was doing that, I pulled out another piece that would allow me to just do fill in. And this is a whip that I have started, shown in my whip parade in the past, and it was one of those pieces that I was like, I guess I'll finish it whenever. We'll see. Well, since a lot of it is fill in, perfect. So this is a piece by Happy Sloth, and it's called The Captains. And this is a Star Trek piece. Sorry that it's just in black and white. And I've gone into my hemming and hawing on all of this and what I was going to do and how was I going to handle the new series and all of these things. And what I decided in the end is, rather than stitching this all as one piece, I'm going to stitch each of the captains separately, and I'm going to frame them in very tiny frames so it looks like a family portrait wall when you hang it. And I decided that I'm going to leave Michael off, not because I don't want to stitch Michael, but because the first 5 are sort of the original series Star Trek before Brannon Braga and Rick Berman rode Star Trek into the ground for 20 years. So I'm going to focus on the original 5 captains, leave Michael off, and then I don't have to also think about, well, what do I do about Captain Pike? What do I do about Lower Decks? Etc. So I will do just the original 5 captains. So I had, if you've been with me for a while, you may remember, I have finished Captain Sisko. There we go. So this was the piece that I had gotten finished earlier. You could see just a little bit. I had started Captain Picard. I have unpicked him, and eventually I don't think I will stitch on this fabric. It was just a kind of an even weave. It's fine. But this will be my Sisko piece. And then I pulled out just a couple of little scraps of linen that I'm going to stitch the rest on. So I've got kind of a tan one. I've got a little purple square. So I am going to stitch Janeway and Picard on one each of these. And then this blue piece is big enough that I will be able to do Kirk and Archer on this piece. So as you can see, I have started Captain Kirk. And I did do the outline while I was just in my regular stitchy chair and stitchy spot, but that will allow me to then work on this while I'm actually sitting on the exercise bike. So again, there will be a little bit of color changing through there, but there's a lot of just darn fill in on this piece. So I think this will be a good kind of medium between those two, something that I can work on, get ready, and then as I have an opportunity, what I'm trying to do is sort of get a couple of pieces like this prepped and ready to go so that as I finish things, I can immediately keep working on them. So that is my progress on the captains at this point. And I am glad, both with the Hobbit mealtime and this one, it's really nice to be getting back to these pieces that I'd started, that I really did like and kind of not fell out of love with, but sort of lost interest in for a while, and have found a new reason to be interested in them. Right. And then I also have one new start. It's not quite done. It was really close to being done, but I started it in part because it was going to require a little bit of fill-in. And this is a piece that I have also talked about in the past. And this is Iced Tea by Little House Needleworks. It's an older series, and it comes with all of the Belle Soie silk, just a couple of cut lengths for you to use. Another one that I am only doing a portion of the pattern. I don't do a border unless I absolutely have to. I didn't feel like I needed to put the iced tea, so I really am just stitching that top motif. So I pulled it out in my regular little stitchy spot. I did all of the stuff that required some thought, which is the flowers, and then I have been just working on my bike with the fill-in for that cup. That's maybe 2 full sessions, but I don't think it would take me any more than 2 sessions. That's 2 days of work and about 4 lengths of floss to do that top part. So it definitely, I don't think, would take me any longer than that. Depending on the day, I may just get going and finish it all up in one go. But a really quick stitch. I have been enjoying using those silks. Very nice to work with. And I had put them on just made my own little thread card, laminated a card, added my labels, and then there are my colors. So in part, because I'm only stitching part of the pattern, but in part because I think they just gave you plenty, and Belle Soie comes with 8 strands. I want to say 8 strands, if not more than that, lengths of floss. So there is plenty on here. And I'm stitching it on 32 count with 1 strand of floss. So there will definitely be plenty here for somebody else to stitch that piece themselves. And I already am planning to send that off to somebody else. So it is in the request queue. So that was my start, Iced Tea by Little House Needleworks. And then the last new start that I have is my seasonal piece that I have been working on. And you have seen 3 of those finished at this point, and we are on the last piece of the year, and that is also a Little House Needleworks piece, and this one is Autumn ABCs. And this is a SAL that I am running, and we are doing just a little bit each month. So over the course of 3 months, you've completed the entire season, and then over the course of the entire year, you will have finished all 4 pieces. So you can see just behind me over there, we have the spring piece. I will be showing you briefly the summer piece in a little while. Still need to get that one fully finished. And because we have started June, I've started the autumn piece. So here is my progress so far. Just a couple of letters done, but it is really fun to see those autumn colors. I am using, if I had the called for floss, I used that. If I didn't, I just pulled something that was very close. Very beautiful autumnal palette, browns, blue, orange, some things like that. So it is a really nice palette that I am enjoying using. And I got that started at the Connecticut Stitching Circle. Eileen, who's a member of that group, is also stitching along with me. So I always like to stitch on that a little bit with her when I see her. So that's my progress. And I need to finish through the letter I by the end of June in order to be kind of current on that. And this is a 32 count by XU Design, My Little Dove, and I'm stitching that 2 strands over 2 on that piece. So that is the stitching that I have been up to the last couple of weeks. A lot of different projects, but I think it's nice to feel like you're making progress on each of those. It was nice to get the stitchy bug back a little bit. It definitely has been helpful to have the exercise bike, to be focusing on that, to be beaning with friends. You know, it's always encouraging and makes you want to do more when you see them. So it was a good chance to do that. So with that, I'm going to show you the other couple of little crafty things that I have been working on. Not cross stitch, but I think I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go into the organization stuff that will be cross stitch related. So if for some reason you're only here for cross stitch content, just skip forward a few minutes and you'll figure it out. But one of the other things that I have been working on is a needlepoint project. I think I showed progress on this, like the world's smallest amount of progress, quite some time ago, but I got in the mood for it and picked it up and have been working on this piece again a little bit recently. Let's see here. All right, so this is a Birds of a Feather piece, and I have actually stitched this. This was a cross stitch pattern that is out of print at this point that had 6 different kind of designs with French words describing them. This one is the boat, and I saw this and I just thought, I want to stitch that because I really like the pattern, and I picked it up. And I do have to tell you, if you think it's expensive to kit up cross stitch projects, you should kit up a needlepoint project with like the hand laid out canvas. I bought, I don't know what mood I was in, but what I am using is 50% silk, 50% wool. who's going to be able to tell that? You're not going to be like, oh, so smooth. I don't know. Anyway, I bought it. I was in that mood. I think I was on vacation. That happens when you go on vacation. Anyway, you may not be able to tell very much, but what I have been working on is doing the outline. This is actually a blue. It's coming across black, but it is blue. So I haven't finished the entirety of the outside blue, and I have done about half of the white outline, and we'll be continuing on with that, and then continuing on with that. I started from the outside and I'm working my way in because that was the advice that somebody gave me. I don't remember why. My original thought was to do the white first because then it wouldn't pick up any other colors, but I was persuaded by this advice that I was given. And now that I've done a little bit of white, I'm like, no, I should be doing all of the white first because it definitely picks up other fibers next to it. So as hecka boring as that is going to be, I think it is worth continuing on with the white and then filling in from there. I am sure that I am not doing a traditional needlepoint stitch. I'm just kind of doing what makes logical sense. I'm not here to become a big needlepointer. It's just something else that I like to do from time to time. But anyway, I like the pattern. It's relatively mindless to work on, and I'm going to like it when it's done. So we all need those hobbies sometimes. But as I mentioned, this is Silk and Ivory line, and it's half silk, half wool, merino wool, which is like, I will admit, if you ever talk about like people petting their floss, this is the stuff to pet. And I have been enjoying this. The pattern does call for 2 other colors that I did not buy. The flag up here is red and pink, and I was like, each of those is like 6 stitches. I am not going to buy an entire hank of this for 6 stitches, so I'm just going to do a red and an orange and yellow that will match the bottom of the boat. But anyway, just something I pick up from time to time. I'm enjoying it. It's nice because you can just sit and go. You don't have to look at a pattern. You don't really have to think about anything. It's great. So that's a project that I have been working on a little bit over the last couple of weeks. The other project that I have been working on is a new hobby because, you know, why not try new hobbies? What I've been working on is diamond painting. And I bought this tiny little kit off of Amazon in large part because I was like, they're small and I can decide if I like them or not. And it was very inexpensive. So this is a little series of bookmarks that slip over the end of your pages. And I was like, I will admit, I'm not going to put this in any book because I'm not going to distort my pages with the raised jewels. But anyway, it was a hobby. It was a craft. So it is 4 little different trees representing each of the seasons. And I did this over the course of 2 nights, but mostly it was 1 night, and you could absolutely have done this all in 1 night. I think that autumn one is my favorite. And then we have winter. And this is another one of those things that I had just sort of randomly bought to give it a try at some point, and I was in the mood for it. So I enjoyed it. It does seem like I know absolutely nothing about diamond painting other than the couple of like YouTube videos I watched to make sure I didn't totally mess it up. Again, I don't think this is going to become my new like hobby, but I enjoyed it. And I think I enjoyed it for very much the same reasons that I like the needlepoint. You can be creative, you can be crafty, you feel like you are using those types of skills and interests, while at the same time, it's also very mindless. Like, it's just kind of plug and play. You don't have to think about what you're doing beyond a very minimal amount. And it's great if you want to just check out, if you want to listen to an audiobook, you just kind of want to craft with really not having to focus too much on what you're doing other than simply placing each thing in the right place and moving on to the next one. So I enjoyed it, but I do think it does seem like there are sort of 2 different styles of diamond painting. One which is like this, which is there is some sort of pattern already on the image and you're essentially just bedazzling it with these kind of very sparkly, different sized beads. I was perfectly happy to do that. But there is another style that is basically the like equivalent of full coverage cross stitch, which is you have an entire image, you have the kind of picture there, but you're placing the dots on top of it, and you cover the entire piece. And those may not necessarily be kind of sparkly. It tends to be exactly the same size of dot. They're either little squares or little circles, but beyond that, it's a very systematic kind of thing. So as I was finishing up this, I was like, oh, I would do this again. I should look and see what else is available. And then Amazon helpfully reminded me that I had already bought another set months ago and completely forgotten about it. So I dug that out. And I'm going to show this very briefly. It's a cat reading a cookbook. Very happy. The reason I kind of showed it in that way is one of the things that I learned is many diamond painting patterns are the same as DMC. Like the beads are keyed to the DMC system. Black is 310, etc. So as somebody pointed out in one of these videos that I watched, if you wanted to, you could actually use the diamond painting pattern as a cross stitch pattern. So for those of you who do full coverage and are kind of feeling like you've maybe seen everything there is out there to see, check out diamond painting, because it's going to open a whole other world for you of patterns. Obviously you would not want to like be stitching on top of this pattern itself because it's sticky. But again, if you want to, you can do that. And anyway, this one is definitely a much bigger piece, but I think I'm going to try it. I don't think I'm going to get into any rush to finish it, but it is something that I think I would enjoy working on occasionally, and going through that. I was thinking, because you have all of these little baggies of the little dots that you use, I think they're called drills. Excuse me. I think they're called drills. You have to keep them organized in some way. So you could also go down the whole rabbit hole of organization for these. I already have a good solution for myself. At Christmas time, I bought this tin from Target, which is selling Marks and Spencer stuff. And I showed that in some of my Christmas designs. This was a box of chocolates that I bought entirely because I just liked the tin. It's cool. It's very thin. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. I just liked the tin. I bought the tin. It's been sitting here for months as I go, you know what I can do? And then also at Christmas time, I had bought myself a tea advent calendar that came in these tiny little containers. And I was like, these are too cute to throw away. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I'm keeping them. And then I realized I could put these into the tin. They fit perfectly. I can put one of my little circular stickers that I use for labeling my floss here, and I could label them the color of the drills, and I can put the little drills in here, and I can have everything, and it's all handy and tucked away in my adorable little tin that I totally bought for this specific purpose. What do you think? Anyway, so I am excited. I get to use my tin, I get to use my little tea caddies, and I get to try out a new craft that will be something that will keep me entertained. As I said, I don't think I'm going like super deep into the diamond painting realm, but as something to do occasionally as a break, I'm all for it. So that was all of the crafting. At this point, I'm going to have a sip of water, and then I'm going to show you all of the organization that I've done. All of the organization. I've done 2 things, but I'm very proud of these 2 things, so I need to show them off. So give me 1 second. Okay, so one of the problems that I have been trying to solve recently is the longer I keep stitching things and finishing them, but not fully finishing them, the more pieces that I have that are just sitting around waiting to be fully finished. And I know a lot of people have like the box under the bed, the drawer of shame, all of these things. And I had been kind of keeping them tucked away, but one of the things that I kept thinking about is I wanted something that was large enough, because when I finish them, I iron them to show you, and then if I've done a decent job, I don't have to re-iron them before I fully finish them. So I was like, well, I don't want to fold them up. I don't want to do anything. So I really want a container that is large enough that I can keep these here and not have to re-iron them. And I had been looking for something like that. I found something like that. So this is something that I picked up. Hang on, let's see if we can do this. And there's a random needle. That's always exciting. All right, we'll put this right here. Okay, let's see. There we go. This is a basket that I picked up at Joann, and I was like, this is a really great size. And I like this style of basket. I have a couple of others like this in the house already, and I was like, I'm buying it. And what I did, I will show you when I get to the bottom, is I just had a piece of Soft and Stable that was just a leftover piece, and it was almost exactly this size. And so I trimmed it down just a little bit, and I put it in the bottom. And the reason I did that is because otherwise laying my nicely ironed things on top of this would have wrinkled them. So I put the Soft and Stable there. Right now it's just a plain piece of Soft and Stable, but I am going to, I'm going to get a piece of fabric, a fat quarter that I like. I'm going to just quilt that onto the Soft and Stable, do a very basic binding, and that way there's just a little piece of cute fabric in the bottom. But other than this piece, which doesn't fit into anything right now, all of my pieces pretty much fit inside of this. You'll notice that not all of them are ironed, but most of them are, and it means that I won't have to re-iron them, and we can go from there, and I can actually see my pieces. So, I mean, obviously I'm getting toward the top, so I need to start fully finishing some things, which I say every time. I need to do that. I don't want to get too far behind them, but I'm very happy about this. I think this is going to be really great. And then for all of the pieces, the items that I have to actually fully finish, like the other elements, what I know I'm going to fully finish them on or as, I do keep those separate. So this is just the stitched pieces, but it's nice to have them all together, organized, and in a way that I think is treating them well. So excuse me, because since I have these out, I'm going to do just a quick pattern or a quick finish parade just so you can see what's here, and slightly to shame myself, to remind myself that I need to actually fully finish these pieces. So we'll do that really quickly. This is my most recent kind of piece that was fully finished, and this is Summer ABCs, again from that ABC series. And then I also have this piece by Hands On Design. This is called Petals and Plumes, and will eventually be turned into, these are each going to be made into individual hexies. And it's got flamingos. This was a sal with Roz Clark last summer. This is a summer piece. I need to get this fully finished. So there's Petals and Plumes. Also by Hands On Design, my two recent finishes from the Gather Round series. My recent Il Pleut piece, the umbrella piece. From last autumn, I have my Suffrage Act piece by Little House Needleworks, and I had changed the colors to the suffrage colors based on the excellent decision or excellent thing that Megan the Seattle Stitcher had done, and I just took that and ran a little bit further. This was my winter typography piece by Pine Mountain Designs. This is Abe Shot, which is a piece by Jardin Privé, and that's going to turn into kind of a doorstop. We have, oh my goodness, this is the piece that we did together for Flossmas, and all of my little stamps that I still need to cut up and stitch together. So, spoiler, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do Christmas in July this year, in large part because one, I need to finish this, and two, I have not been keeping up with my advent calendar for this year, and I figured July would be the perfect time to sit, do Christmas stitching, get caught up, and then go from there. Oh my goodness. Okay. This I did years ago. This is a very, very old piece. I designed this myself. I know. I love Anne of Green Gables. So it's the Broken Slate. And then I think this is one of the early DMC variegated flosses. Anyway, it's on Ada. It's got masking tape on the sides. I need to finish this. I need to fully finish this in some way, but that's my design. You're welcome. This was an embroidery piece that I picked up at Joann, and this is I have no idea what I'm going to do with this piece. I don't actually think I'm going to fully finish this, but I enjoyed stitching on it. It kept me occupied for a little while. Oh, this is a piece that my grandmother stitched. This is also some embroidery. And you can see that I used to have it framed. Unfortunately, it got broken in one of my moves, and I need to reframe it or refinish it in some way, but I think it's just beautiful. I also have Merry & Bright, which is a Dimensions kit that I finished last Christmas time. I have my Avengers piece as well as my Till the End of the Line piece, and those are going to go together on my very first drum finish. I just have to get up the courage to make a drum finish. This was from the Historical Sampler Company Advent box last year. Little reindeer with some beads. I have O Tannenbaum, which was one of my Christmas stitches, also last December. Oh gosh, I don't even think I've ever shown you this piece. I finished this at the farm 2 years ago, the first year I went to the farm. So I don't think I've ever even shown this. And this is Autumn Row by Bent Creek. I really like that. It's a very quick stitch. And I'm going to make a draft excluder with it. I stitched it purposefully on very large linen, and it's going to become part of a draft excluder. I'm going to do a whole series. I'm going to do a whole bunch of these so that I can change them out seasonally. You'll see how much progress I have made on that. What else? Oh, I've got the Philanthropic Pumpkin, which I definitely need to fully finish. And I have a piece, again, this is not my stitching, but it was stitched for me. And this is a Country Cottage Needleworks Sweet Treats. And it's got a lot of little ribbon or little buttons. They were just tacked on when they were sent to me, so I need to frame that. I've got a really great frame for it, but I need to get that fully finished. So that is my very quick finish parade. And then that takes us down to the bottom of this container and my soft and stable. So I am, as I said, excited. I think it's a good set of dimensions for holding these pieces. And I'm hopeful. I think it'll be good. And then I really do need to sit down and actually fully finishing this for a while. Okay, so that's my first piece of organization that I am inordinately pleased with myself for. The other thing that I have done is, after saying I was going to do this telling myself I was going to do this for a really long time, and watching many other people do it, and buying the supplies for it, I have organized my fabric. All right, so I have, you'll be surprised to know, baskets that look like this. I have 3 of these in a little cabinet in my craft room, and I used the comic book board method, in which you wrap your fabrics around the comic book board, and that way you can see all of your fabrics. And I have 3 of these. This is the most, frankly, disorganized of the 3, but I had a lot of random little pieces, things that didn't quite fit, but I think it was good to do, anyway. So I have this one, which is my 30 count and under size. I have one that's completely full of 32 count, which is typically what I stitch on. And then I have one that is 36 count and up. So I thought I would just, I like this method. I really like the fact that I can instantly look in and see a lot of what I have. My 32 bin is just a whole bin of just like this full piece, so you can see everything, and it's all organized by color. It's so exciting. This one, as I mentioned, I had a lot of odd pieces, odd sizes. I have banding. I've got other things in here. I've got one of those like Afghan things, which I put in here. I bought these. This is a shop that doesn't even exist anymore. This was a crotch stitch shop in Georgia. And these are really nice tea towels that have some Ada in the center. They've been sitting around for years, and I need to stitch those. So there's a lot of kind of little different things. These are some kind of hem stitched pieces I picked up in Germany years ago. And I just put them all together there. I have some banding, some other things, so at least you can see them, which I like. I have a lot of small cuts. Like when I was first really getting into cross stitch as an adult, I couldn't afford anything besides store-bought Aida and linen, and so and even weave. And so when I would treat myself, I would be able to buy like the very small offcuts of linen and things like that. So I have a number of those that I've collected over the years, and so I've just kind of put them all together. And if I want a small piece of blue fabric, they're all there together. And then I do have I've got some of my banding that is there, easy to see. And then I do have kind of full pieces that are folded over. And then I use the little alligator, I don't know what they're called, pins to just kind of hold it there. So it's really easy to be able to look in and quickly see what you have, which I like. And then I have also, I even have some like IKEA towels that I bought years ago. They're linen and cotton blend, but I was like, it's probably a, I don't know, 20 count Aida, basically. I was like, at someday I am actually going to put something on these because you could totally stitch on those. So I'm really happy. It took a couple hours one morning, but something I'd been saying I was going to do for quite some time, and I love being able to pull these out and look at them at this point. So like I said, this is probably the most disorganized of them, but it's still pretty organized, much more than it was before. I also definitely don't need to buy any more fabric for a very long time. So I did stitching this time. I did organization. I did other crafts. Who is this person? Who are they talking? Who is it that's talking to you? Anyway, sometimes that's what happens. All right. We are 46 minutes in. I think we'll close out for the day. Before I do, what I want to do is have another question of the video. I do that occasionally, but my question of the video for you today is, what's your favorite organization tip or the thing that you really like to do that you would let me know about? So definitely put those in the comments. We can all read and see what it is, get inspiration from each other, but let us know what your favorite way to organize your craft supplies is. And it doesn't have to be cross stitch. Whatever you want to chat about, let us know. So it has been wonderful to talk with you for a little while again today. I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Happy stitching, enjoy, and we'll talk again soon. Bye, everybody.